Your existing content is already a goldmine for Pinterest without having to create any new content right now. But you're probably not using it. Let's talk about how to take your existing content on your website or products, if you also sell products, and break that down into additional topics, subtopics, or angles so you can continue to promote that content and get it in front of people. Now, when you make a piece of content on your website, or if you make a product, it usually doesn't solve one singular problem, does it? Now, I occasionally do create content that will solve one problem. So, for example, if I make a video on how to create video pins inside of Canva, that video will solve that one problem. But still, inside of that one video, there are multiple different topics I talk about or methods that I talk about that you could pull out and make into individual Pinterest pins. But a lot of people just completely skip over the idea of creating Pinterest pins for those subtopics or those little ideas inside of the blog post that could be gems on their own. But Google does this, right? When Google reads our content and indexes it, it potentially indexes it for hundreds of different keyword topics. And we could do the same thing on Pinterest, get our pins indexed into tens of 20s or hundreds of different keywords if we wanted to, by simply making the pins that go with the content that's relevant and putting them on the platform. Now, the only difference is on Pinterest, we actually have to give Pinterest the content to index, whereas Google just simply reads our blog post and indexes them. So today, I'm gonna walk you through how to break this down, and I'm gonna show you 4 different examples of this. 3 that I own, and 1 example I found on the internet that I just think is a really great idea. And I'm going to show you kind of my thought process and how I break these down. I'm also going to show you several different blog post Pinterest pin sets that I have created and how I'm tying those back to the original blog post. Then at the end of this video, I actually have a worksheet for you, which you can also find in the description down below if you want to grab it and use it to follow along with me. You can also do that. So let's actually just jump right into what you're here for, and that is the lesson. Okay, let's start with this blog post of mine on my travel blog. What I did was wrote a blog about different art museums in Europe that I think people should visit because I visited them. So as I was putting this blog post together, I was creating it from the standpoint of there are 3 museums that I visited. Here is why I think they're great. Here's, pieces of information about the art. But how you're going to approach this as we scroll through is you're looking for the big topics that you put into any piece of content. And this could even be viewed through the lens of product creation as well. So what are all of the different ways that you solve a problem within your blog post or your product? So in this instance here that we're looking at, and I'm actually going to show you the Pinterest pins for this blog post, I detail the Wallraf Richards Museum in Cologne, Germany. And I have all of these different images of artwork from that museum. And I have many, many others as well that I can use, not just these. And then as we move through, you'll see, okay, I have the Pinacoteca Ambrosiana in Milan. This is another great museum inside of the blog post, but also inside of the European Union that people should visit. And then we have the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. So the big thought here is we are going to take those pieces of art and we are going to create Pinterest pins with each idea. So for this one, I only created 3 different pins with text overlay. I plan to go back and make more of them, but I only had time to create these 3. So I have art museums in Europe, European art museums, and then I have art museums in Europe again. Now, what I did with the remainder of these images, so these images without any text overlay on them, is I actually pinned these as well, except these are dictated in the actual Pinterest pin strategy by where they're located. So art museums in Paris, art museums in Germany, art museums in Italy. I should have continued on with the city examples instead of just one city and 2 countries. But you get the point. And then I am pushing these out to the different boards on Pinterest that are then appropriate for that. So if we look at the other one, which is for Delft, that's this one here. In this blog post, I am basically just like breaking down the city and exploring this city, and then I'm breaking down what I did in kind of a itinerary format. So if you wanted to follow the same steps that we did in Delft, you could do this. So we have cafes and breakfast in Delft, and then I put on there where we actually went, so the Stad's Coffee House, and then historic stops along the way, and I break down the historic stops, the market day discoveries. So each of these then become Pinterest pins, and as you scroll through, you're going to notice the Pinterest size images in there that I am actually creating for the explicit purpose of putting them on Pinterest. So if I go into the Delft file and actually show you all of the images I created for Delft, you can see I've got 2 general Delft images, and then I have a what to do in Delft, and then I have a where to eat. Let me zoom out for you. Where to eat, and then I have another one that is just more general, and it's more focused on the actual canals. And then I have one that's like spending the day in the city, family activities, and then another just general image of the architecture, and then another general image of a canal, architecture. And I'm basically framing this entire blog post from things to do, places to eat, activities for families. So I've got a lot of different things that you can pull together inside of Pinterest. So as you are pulling these things together, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the platform and you're going to search for those overarching thoughts. So I want you to mine your content for things that people are actually searching for on Pinterest. What did you talk about in your blog post? What problems does your product solve? And I want you to break all of those things down into smaller ideas, and then you're going to create a series of Pinterest pins for that content, like I've done here or here with the art museums. And you are going to then point those all to the same URL. Let me give you one more example inside of my blog post for my travel blog. This is the Braunwald, Switzerland one. In this one, I did a very similar thing as I did with Delft, but I did a lot more pins. So we have a lot of general ideas like family summer activities, what to do, where to eat, a general just Pinterest pin for Braunwald talking about a fairy tale village, because that is something that people are looking for on the platform, on Pinterest specifically. Another one that is more time oriented, so instead of just family activities, it's 4 days of family activities. Again, this is more general for family activities. I have a ton of just imagery, right, of just the things that we did while we were there, or the places that we were seeing. And all of this then links back to that single blog post. So I have another example for you. This is completely outside of the realm. This is not my website. I do not own this, but I found this blog post to be really very useful, and I have saved this I believe earlier this year when I found it on Pinterest the first time, and I wanted to come back to it. So it's how to build a capsule wardrobe and ditch fast fashion. In this blog post, this creator really breaks down all of the nitty-gritty of actually getting away from fast fashion and building a capsule wardrobe. So in this instance, I would have a series of Pinterest pins that really target the overarching thought, which is how to build a capsule wardrobe. But I'm also going to start to break down the steps of creating that capsule wardrobe and then making Pinterest pins with those steps. So I would have a pin titled Sustainable Shopping with Fewer Pieces and Bigger Impact. That is essentially the title on the Pinterest pin. How to shop sustainably and build a capsule wardrobe. And then I would have a Pinterest pin of Instagram trends versus timeless style, and then maybe another header that's like how to build a capsule wardrobe. And then that would be the thought. And then I'm also going to have a topic that is talking about the price, because that is something that, as someone who's interested in building a capsule wardrobe and having to get rid of all of my fast fashion pieces, is now investing in all of these really high quality pieces that sometimes could run you $70 for one shirt or $300 for a coat. I'm not going to be able to just go out and buy all of that in one go. I'm going to have to do that over time. And how do I prioritize that? But also, how do I budget for it? So I would create a Pinterest pin for this blog post that's talking about how to invest money strategically in clothing. And then how would we actually do that? And then she obviously has like the beginner friendly tips for building your capsule wardrobe. So each of these tips would then become a Pinterest pin. Start with a closet clean out. So the number one thing you need to do before you start a capsule wardrobe, that is the Pinterest title. And it's going to talk about this section right here. Then a little tiny subheading that says, starting with a closet clean out. And here's why. And then I'm going to have a title that's how to pick a color palette, how to identify my daily uniform, because this is part of the capsule wardrobe, is like wearing the same kind of outfits every day. You have a uniform. And then I'm going to have a piece that's like how to choose your 5 to 7 core pieces for your capsule wardrobe, how to prioritize versatility. This creator is really good about capsule wardrobes, by the way. So if you are interested, you should definitely read her stuff. And then this is that budget savvy part we were talking about above, where we're talking about actually investing in pieces. And then I would even have a Pinterest pin that's talking about how to keep sentimental pieces in your wardrobe. And then you can see she's got this theme of like how to build a wardrobe with 25 pieces, and she has them all lined out. But then that's it. I would also have Pinterest pins or content in this blog post about where to shop or how to choose what stores you shop at. How do you find what stores to shop at that are high quality and actually fit inside of your budget? Okay, I have one third and final example, and this is again something that I own, something I've created, and this was a YouTube video I actually featured here on the channel recently. And I created this blog post many moons ago, Pinterest for Teachers, How to Grow Your Teaching Business. I actually wrote this initially in 2018, and we just updated it for the first time in 2025. Insanity. So here is what I would do if I were creating a series of blog posts or pins for this blog post. In fact, this is exactly what we do here and what I plan on to continue doing. So I would have a Pinterest pin that is like the key things every Pinterest marketer should know, or every teacher seller should know when marketing on Pinterest. So that would be one pin. I'm also going to obviously have a pin for the overarching topic, which I have plenty of. I actually just created a Pinterest pin for that yesterday, I believe. It's this one here, how to create a Pinterest strategy that works. And the blog post that we're actually sending this to, as you can see here in the comments, is Pinterest for Teachers. And then I'm going to move on down into how to define your Pinterest goals as a teacher seller. And then I'm going to have a Pinterest pin that is the challenges every teacher seller makes. So when marketing on Pinterest, how to choose what links to prioritize in your Pinterest marketing strategy. And then a subheading that says for teacher sellers. And then I would go down into each of these sub steps. So how to create a keyword plan as a teacher seller on Pinterest. And I'm telling you these phrases like you understand the SEO behind it. I've actually done all of this SEO work, so I know that this is what people are searching for. But if I were to go on here and search teacher seller and Pinterest, there's going to start being content that comes up here. And this is how I know that this is the phrasing that I would need to use, because they are identifying themselves as a TPT seller or a teacher seller, and I want to use their phrases back to them. So all of this kind of culminates in going one direction, and that is defining your goals for your own blog post. How do we want them to show up not only on Pinterest but other places, right? Because remember when I told you Google indexes all of the content and the phrases and the keywords in your blog post, but the only way for us to do that on Pinterest is for us to actually see what those are for ourselves and then make the pins for them. So we need to then break down all of those topics, kind of like what I did here for Braunwald: what to do, where to stay, what to eat, family activities, the city itself. All of those topics then become little subtopics for your Pinterest pins, and each subtopic gets a series of Pinterest pins. Now, let's pause for a second, because I know you're going to ask, how many do I make for each subtopic? I would just start with however many you have imagery for. And if you have to create your own imagery or find stock photos, that's fine. So in this instance, I have a lot of photos that I took in Switzerland, but I don't have very many photos of what to eat while I'm in Switzerland. So I only had like one pin for that. And then the rest of them are really just more focused on the family activities. So whereas I might have 9 for family activities, that section in the blog post, and 1 for food, I might only then have 1 for where to stay as well. And that's okay. It's not about hitting each one equally. It's about spreading out the indexing capability on Pinterest and making it to where you are showing up where people are searching for you. So they might be searching for you in capsule wardrobe, but they might also be searching for you in sustainable clothing. Probably not sustainable clothing design, because that indicates that people are actually designing clothing. But maybe sustainable clothing basics. And then that topic in this sustainable blog post is where we are pulling out that idea and we're making the Pinterest pin for it. So what you're gonna do is first break down the overarching thoughts or themes inside of your content. So for me, it's the 3 different museums across Europe that I visited when I was traveling. And then I'm taking those 3 museums and I'm breaking them out with the pieces that I have to point to them. So all of the different photography I took for each place then becomes an opportunity to become a Pinterest pin. And then I'm going to start harping in on those thoughts for each place. So the Impressionist floor inside of the Cologne, Germany museum, that becomes a Pinterest pin, and so on. So whatever different themes that you want to do. And I would back all of this up with obviously keyword research. So if I'm going in and I'm looking at Cologne, Germany, I'm going to just start with the name of the city, and I'm going to see what starts coming up here. And then I'm going to look at these different things at the top, these different ideas, and then those become Pinterest pins if I have content to fit it. So we've got Cologne, Germany Cathedral. I could definitely make a Pinterest pin on that, because I did I made a whole blog post on Germany actually. Things to do. So obviously things to do in Germany. If you're an art lover, then point it towards that blog post, and so on. So you want to start with breaking out what your themes are. So that is step number 1. And then step number 2 is doing the keyword research for each of those themes. And you're just going to come to Pinterest, and you're either going to use this search bar or you're going to use the trends tool. And that's just trends.pinterest.com. And you can use either the search bar at the top or the filters down here on the left middle. And you can start to search in here. So if we were to do the capsule wardrobe one, I can take all of these keywords and I can cross-reference them to the actual blog post, and each of these keywords then become a Pinterest pin that points to this blog post. As long as you have content in here that fits. Don't use keywords in this list that don't actually fit what's on the landing page, because that goes against the relevance, and Pinterest doesn't really like that. You definitely want to stay relevant and you want to stay on topic. But if your topic covers 3 different major ideas, then break those out and make each of those a Pinterest pin. So if you want to work on this yourself, I am going to link a free worksheet inside of my free resource library. You can get to my free resource library with the link in the description of the video. However, I will show you where to find it if you are just going to head to my website. So go to the resources page, and then on the resources page, it's right here under our favorite resources, favorite free resource library. Inside of here, I'm going to put a worksheet for you if you need kind of more ideas or thoughts on exactly how to implement this in real time. And you can just download it for free. Once you get inside, it's just your email address and a password that you set. Inside the course library will be the worksheet, and you can get started on this as soon as today. Now that you can see that you can take your one piece of content and turn it into like 30 pieces of content on Pinterest, there's a free worksheet for you. You can follow along with that. I want to challenge you to do this so you no longer have to wonder what to pin about. Not only do you probably have tons of URLs in your business that you can create pins for, but each individual URL is a gold mine of ideas. So go create your Pinterest pins, and if you have questions, come back and ask or report back to me and let me know how you did. If you want more Pinterest marketing strategies or you need more tips, head on over there, somewhere over there, click those videos, and I will see you in them.